All right, good evening. This is the September 7, 2022 Cottage Grove City Council meeting, which I'm calling to order. Our first order of business this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, will the clerk please do the roll?
Councilmember Kambata? Present. Councilmember Dennis?
Here.
Councilmember Thiede?
Here.
Councilmember Olson?
Here.
Mayor Bailey?
Here. Next item on our agenda is open forum. This is the opportunity for anybody who wants to speak on something that is not on tonight's agenda is welcome to do so. We did have a sign-up sheet out in the entryway, but it didn't appear that anybody did sign up. So is there anybody that maybe made it in here that wants to speak before the council on open forum? All right, seeing none, we'll then move to number 5, which is adoption of the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda. Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Dennis, second by Councilmember Thiede. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is presentations, and we do have 3 presentations this evening. The first presentation is an Xcel energy update, and a representative for Xcel is going to be here. Kristen Sirlin is going to have a presentation for us. And welcome back.
Got my notes on my computer, so did I do that right? There we go. Welcome to Cottage Grove. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Kirsten Sorsland. I'm the Xcel Energy Community Relations Manager for the Southeast Metro. I just started with Xcel in March of this year, and I have with me Tricia Duncan. She is the Director of Community Relations for the state of Minnesota, and she has graciously agreed to join me here just to make sure that you're getting accurate technical information in case I miss something, because I'm new, so I thank you for coming. For those of you who don't know what community relations managers do, I am the liaison between Xcel Energy and the 40 cities and townships in the Southeast Metro and Dakota County. I help maintain relationships and I advocate for company initiatives and policies in this geographical area. So I'm the lead outreach to local government officials, your first call for help, related to company projects, economic development opportunities, franchises, neighborhood level outages, and permitting. And I also help promote products and services. So in short, I'm the face of Xcel Energy to local government, local community organizations, and residents of these cities. So we've appreciated the relationship that we have with Cottage Grove, and I look forward to working together in the future. Happy to be here tonight to update you on kind of who we are, what we do, and give you some answers. Okay, this guy. There we go. For more than a decade, here's our Xcel Energy priorities. We lead the clean energy transition, enhance the customer experience, and keep bills low. So for more than a decade, we've pursued a successful strategy to transition to clean energy. We're the first company to announce our vision to provide carbon-free electricity by 2050. And we're empowering customers by providing choices that meet their evolving needs and interests, and we make it easy to do business with us. So energy affordability is a top priority for our customers, and it is a focus for us. Running 2 decks here. Keeping customer bills low. So Xcel is always working to keep costs low as the company focuses on the safety and reliability of the electric and natural gas systems that serve our customers while transitioning to cleaner energy. Some of the ways we keep costs down, we're adding more clean energy to the grid because wind and solar generate electricity without fuel costs. We're purchasing and storing natural gas ahead of the winter heating season when prices are lower. We contract for wholesale natural gas purchases before winter to lock in those lower prices. And we have a diverse mix of electricity sources that can be used to minimize the effect of natural gas price increases on electric bills. I also want to let this council and your residents know that help is available. So please contact us if you're having trouble paying your bill. We can provide you with options, and you can learn more about our energy assistance programs and resources through our website. And I'll make sure that the city has that information should you be asked. We're committed to serving our customers in the state with extremely high reliability while bringing them clean energy and keeping bills low. We have 1.3 million electric customers in the state, 472,000 natural gas customers, and a 99.9% electric reliability. We make an impact in Minnesota through our foundation giving programs. So the Xcel Energy Foundation is our company's charitable arm, and it oversees our giving and volunteer programs, and it funds our focus area grants. We fund arts and culture, STEM education, economic sustainability, and environment. And that extends into Cottage Grove locally. So our company employees are committed to the communities we serve. We give our time and dollars to support causes in our community and help to build a brighter future. So we're chamber members. We sponsored the scholarship golf tournament. Dodge Nature Center received a $10,000 grant from us this year. We participated in your Strawberry Festival. And Cottage Grove businesses receive about $24,000 from us annually through shopping at hardware stores, local restaurants, just kind of the everyday business that Xcel employees in this area spend in Cottage Grove. So we live and work here. So the mayor has tasked me today with answering some questions this evening related to power outages. Thought I'd never get here, didn't you? So the questions are, what were the cause of these outages and what are we doing to rectify this in the future? So I brought up this very simplistic document. So just a quick tutorial on how electricity gets to your house and small business. So the power plant generates it. Transmission lines carry those electricity long distances. Then the neighborhood substations step down the voltage. The feeders and taps carry electricity to homes and small businesses at an even lower voltage. And transformers on poles step that electricity down even further before it enters your home or business. So from this group, I want you to sort of take a mental picture of the substation and the feeders, because that's what I'll be addressing. This needs no introduction. So the greater Cottage Grove area is supplied by 13,000 volt feeders from the Cottage Grove and Chemelite substations. The Cottage Grove substation is at the top. The Chemelite substation is at the bottom. They have little yellow pins there. So this area is primarily serving residential and small commercial. We've got some major customers as well. And the cause of the outages earlier this summer were due to a couple of things: feeder splice failures, and overloading on extremely hot days in late June, early July, and the overloading was on the transformers. So we're addressing this in three ways. So the cable on the feeders comes in 1,000-foot rolls, and we splice those together because we can't, right? You got to make it work. So we're addressing these in three ways. We're going to be replacing 2,600 feet of underground feeder on 80th between Hadley and Harkness Avenue. So that span of cable is scheduled to be completed in first quarter 2023. We're replacing all three phases in the splice pits of the affected feeders, and we're going to ensure that the most recent technology and the most updated workmanship is used. That is scheduled to be completed October of this year, 2022. And I think most effective here is we're installing a new feeder that'll come out of the Chemelite substation down here at the bottom. And that will be complete fourth quarter this year. So had that new feeder been in place this summer, the duration of some of those outages are likely to have been shorter. The outages still would have happened, things go out, but that would have been shorter because we would have been able to reroute the load through that new feeder. So the more cable that we have, the more power lines that we have, the better we are to provide redundancy when those things go out. So I hope that answers your questions. We had met earlier. We spoke with Councilmember Dennis and the mayor earlier and shared this information with them in advance of tonight. Got some direction on what you really wanted to hear. I threw in some extras because that's what I do. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to come here and speak to you and answer the questions.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for coming in, and I do appreciate you bringing all your staff and the maps and the data, and there was a lot that was taken in when we were there, and thank you for also coming and representing Xcel here. Council, is there any questions that you might have? I'll start with Councilmember Thiede.
So I guess I have a question about with the growth and everything. At what point do like you're saying you're adding a feeder? is right now, is it like those substations, do they have a certain capacity level where you'd be putting in another substation? Or is there plenty of space there to just put feeders or, and these substations and basically everything on both sides of the highway are connected? Are they?
So, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Thede, great question. Right now, so I'm community relations, I'm not technical in that area. So I can get you a more technical answer for that through my staff. But it's my understanding that our substations do have the capacity to power up the entire city, and the feeders are what take that capacity into the places that are needed. I think if there is a larger industrial project, we may put in a substation directly related to that large industrial project. I think there might be one in the works in Cottage Grove related to a specific project. Don't quote me on that. But we usually only do that for extremely large customers with an extremely large need. The feeders handle most of the residential and small business growth.
So what you're saying is those two, and again, yeah, maybe you can get those two substations right now probably would take care of the rest of the city to the city limits out for the next 20 years?
Councilmember Bailey and Representative Thede, I'm gonna say yes. Yeah,
Okay.
they're
Thank you.
big.
Okay, Councilmember Olson?
Again, thank you for being here. Appreciate all the information that you shared. And of course, you work in an industry where there are an awful lot of needs and desires that, residents of not just our community, but all of your customers' communities want. One thing that I struggle with a little bit is the ongoing challenge of rate increases that our customers are seeing without feeling like there's been a return on that investment to our community. In Cottage Grove, we have kind of a tale of two cities, so to speak, with regard to all of the new that we've been enjoying for quite some time. And then two, we've got some aging infrastructure where we've seen lots of problems with Xcel outages. People on, the hottest of days who don't have an air conditioner working because there's a power outage. But yet the rate increase proposals are pretty steep. In fact, the most recent proposal to the Public Utilities Commission, which our former Senator Katie Sieben actually sits on, is over 20% for a 3-year time frame starting in 2022. So you're looking at 12+% in 2022, and then close to 5% the next 2 years. How much of that money is going to get reinvested into actual infrastructure, into ensuring that our people don't suffer the same challenges that they're suffering now with power outages, whether it's, in the wintertime when they need their heat the worst, or in the summertime. And I know that people are very diligent about, making sure that they're turning their thermostats up or down, whatever the seasonality is, in order to conserve energy. But it just seems like the infrastructure that we're dealing with right now isn't keeping up with the demand. But the price keeps going up. So I know that's a complicated question, but at what point can we start to feel like, as a council and as a community, we can have confidence that Xcel is going to address the infrastructure issue?
Mayor Bailey, Councilmember Olson, great question, and thank you. This presentation addresses, the new feeder that we're building, the new lines that we're putting in, the 2,600 feet of replacement. We are making consistent investments. We run reports on feeders that have, I think it's 4 or more failures in a year. Those are red flagged, and those are constantly looked at and constantly evaluated for need and priority. So we do have those kinds of reports. We do have those kinds of information as to at what point energy is getting more expensive. That's just a fact. It's getting more expensive for us to produce it. It's getting more expensive for us to move it, especially in the gas area. So at what point do you feel like you're getting the return on your investment, I can't answer that. That's kind of a subjective, it's a little subjective, but just know that we do take our commitment to Cottage Grove and the cities very seriously. So I think I hope that I showed that we are committed to being here. We're investing in the community in lots of different ways.
And I appreciate that you mentioned the natural gas piece, but the rate increases I'm talking about are for electrical only. There's also natural gas increases, and we all understand things are more expensive. There's no doubt. We're all living that every day. But, you know, one of the challenges that you have as a homeowner is you don't really have any options. It's not like I can say, I'm unhappy with Xcel Energy, so I need to go and get my energy someplace else. So really what it boils down to is you know, you're held hostage to those rate increases. And, you know, the expectation of service level, I think, has to be equal to that. And that's the reason I brought that up, is just from an electrical grid perspective. Those residents that are experiencing these failures are experiencing these failures several times throughout the course of a year. We understand storms happen, weather happens, people run into, you know, things as they're driving down the road that cause power outages. But I mean, these are just intermittent sort of, nothing special is going on other than I don't have any power in my house. So that's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Council, any other comments down here? Councilmember Kambata.
With your guys' goal of transitioning to more renewable energy sources in the coming next 20, 30 years, do you see that as a strategic advantage in terms of controlling those rising costs by having more of a supply chain control factor in terms of where that energy is coming from?
Yes, adding, sorry, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kambata, adding more clean energy to the grid. Wind and solar energy generates electricity at a less expensive rate. So we do see that strategic.
And so as you guys transition to more sustainable energy sources or in-house energy sources where you're not buying from a third party, do you anticipate more stabilization in those rates? Or, you know, moving forward, is there still going to be rate increases because that's going to fuel more growth in sustainable energy? Is this kind of like a feedback loop where the more you lean into the renewable sources, the more we're gonna see similar types of rate increases? Or do you see more predictable rate increases as we have a larger percentage of renewable sources?
So, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Kambata, that is a question that, as someone who's only been with the company about 6 to 7 months, I'm going to punt on that one, and I will get back to you with some more information, or if Tricia wants to come up and, so we'll get back to you on that one when I have something a little more substantial.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kambata. Councilmember Dennis?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. First off, having had the opportunity to be in the meeting with you guys last week, I appreciated everyone who came up, and especially the 3 technical staff members who were very transparent in terms of sharing with us what the causes were of the various outages. And, you know, some of those things is explained, you know, when you have wires spliced together and they're trying to do this stuff in a very small contained space underground, it can be rather difficult to get those to fully fuse. And sometimes when you have so much of a draw, you know, extra heat has prevailed and you end up having those splices come apart. So I think that was really beneficial information for myself, and to be able to come and share that with the community is a good thing. I do feel that with the addition of the feeder line that we're going to have coming in, that's going to be very positive. We had talked a little bit about redundancy and what, you know, could be done to help build processes into the system so that we don't see these types of things going on quite as often in the future. And I also want to say Mr. Ryan Burfind, our city engineer and public works director, was in the meeting with us as well. And so I believe that his questions that he had answered were satisfactorily answered as well. So I appreciate the time, and Mayor, for you taking the time to reach out and contact our community members and kind of put this whole thing together, because we've never really had something like this happen before. So it's good to let people know, and we appreciate the commitment, and we, of course, want to see good value and good service here on behalf of the community as well. So let's look forward to working together.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Kristen, make sure, I guess, in the future, obviously, you can reach out to Ryan. I know that we got all those communications things, and myself, obviously, too. And I do appreciate the fact that, like I said, you met with us last week. You mentioned last week, as well as in some communications with me through email, there is a couple opportunities for citizens to put aside, I'm going to go kind of two directions. One is to report outages or understand how long it's going to take to get the power back in, and it's like real time. Do you want to talk about that? I don't know if you have anything
Yeah,
with us
you know,
today.
and yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize. Xcel Energy has an app, and it's connected to your account, and that app is your first call for help when you need to report an outage. It's got an outage map on it. It will show you where the outage is, expected duration. Oftentimes, it will show you the cause. Sometimes if the outage is new, it won't show you right away, but if you keep looking at it probably every 20, 30 minutes, it should show you how long the duration will be and what the cause is. So the first call for help should be our Xcel Energy app, it's very handy. And did that answer your question?
Yeah, and then the other one was you did also provide contact for claims, if you will, for whether it's businesses or residential that had certain, and I know you can't promise anything with those, but there is a process that they can follow in. If somebody wants to, understand what they can claim or not claim or whatever, how do they go about doing that?
So we do have a claims process if the outage, if it was a sustained outage and you have suffered a loss because of that sustained outage, on our website, again, there's a claims area where you can file a claim, kind of like an insurance claim. Our team will take a look at it. They'll look at what caused the outage. They'll look at whether or not that loss qualifies, and again, no promises, but it
Right.
certainly is an avenue if there has been a substantial loss due to a power outage.
Okay. And then my last question is with regards to citizens. So matter of fact, just the other day, I had a gentleman that lives in the 8400 block of Homestead, which is south of 80th Street, and they were affected by the outage. And so it's Homestead is kind of up a little ways there, up towards Hinton, kind of in that area
Put two
there.
pins in here to just sort of give you the general idea.
Yeah,
There's,
yeah.
There is more, but that's.
Yep. Well, the question that he had, I'll tell you what his question was, and then if people like this citizens have a question of something like this, I'd be interested to know who they can contact to answer those kind of questions. He was noting that whenever these outages happen, and even if it's the big ones that we had, or even some individuals or whatever, typically what he has witnessed is there'll be an Xcel Energy person that comes out with the long pole, and they flip the breaker on the big pole and then put it back in, and all the power comes back on. And his question to me was, they seem to be the last to get the power on, but it's as simple in their mind, it's as simple as flipping this breaker or whatever that is up in the top. Is there a process that you follow? So that's one. Is there a process that happens from when the outage goes to maybe that they're at the end of a run and you got to flip those breakers to reset things? And then two, if somebody has questions like that, who do they contact?
Mr. Mayor, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to the first one about the process. I'm sure we have one. I don't know what it is. I can find that out. And residents are more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm the community relations manager. It involves the community. So if you wanted to pass along my email address, that would be very appropriate. I can direct them to the right person or get them the answers.
Fantastic, thank you. Any other questions, Council? Councilmember Dennis.
Just one last piece. The app, is that available through Google
It is.
or Apple?
Yes,
So
Mr.
just
Mayor.
go online, order that right on the phone and have it. So, and maybe what we could do also for our staff, if we could put something out either onto our Facebook page or to the website, just to make sure we've got that information for people too.
Yep. And again, I do appreciate the fact that you met with us last week, that you're coming here to explain to the public. As you are very keenly aware, there was a lot of angst in the community as regards to what was causing the issues, why there was, some of them were so sustained, and what's being done for the future to stop it. And I do believe in everything that we heard last week and then what you're sharing with us today. These issues, bar weather, I'll put weather aside. I mean, weather happens. I mean, we just got to deal with it. But with some of these issues, we appreciate the fact that you've shared with us what the issues were and what we're doing on a very quick basis here to resolve those issues. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you also back there for joining us. All right. Next on our presentations this evening is recognition to community service leaders in Cottage Grove. And Julie Pryor Miller is going to kick us off. And while she kicks us off, Council, we're going to go down into the front.
Mayor, Council, good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce to you tonight two leaders in our Cottage Grove community, Sue McEwen and Cheryl Jogger. Cheryl Jogger is the founder of Sowashko Cares, and Sue McEwen works as a youth programs manager for South Washington County Schools Community Education. And we're recognizing them both tonight because of their dedication and commitment to our students and families in Cottage Grove. Not only have these students, families, residents benefited from their tireless effort and dedication and passion that they have for reaching the communities within the South Washington County School District. We as a city have also benefited. One of our 4 strategic objectives is engaging with the community. And just for an example, every week this summer from June to August, we were able to benefit by engaging our community in different ways, by simply through their efforts with Schoolie, the South Washington County school bus. That goes out into Cottage Grove, Woodbury, Newport, and St. Paul Park every week throughout the summer. And every week we tried our best to be there, whether it be police, fire, parks and recreation, and other divisions of our city, being able to engage with people, provide games, talk, and get their feedback on really important issues that we have going on here in the city. So all of us in the community have benefited, students and families the most, through their dedication and commitment. And I'll just say a couple of things. I have had the pleasure of volunteering with both of these individuals, and I know that they are truly committed to serving the youth and families in the school district, whether it be through providing a little free library, fresh produce, free food, engaging everyone. They deserve to be recognized because for years they've put in this work. So without further ado, because I know the Girl Scouts are also here very excited, I would like to have Sue and Cheryl please stand and come up.
Yeah, come up front. Let's give them a round of applause. Come on up. Congratulations. Congratulations. So I'll have each of these guys can go ahead and give you the plaques. Cheryl, I've known Cheryl for a long time, so I know who she is too, and I've seen you around town, so I appreciate it. So I'll just read the one here. It says, "Presented to Cheryl Jogger in appreciation for your service and dedication to our community," and it's dated today, September 7, 2022, and the same with Sue McCown. Same message in appreciation of your service and dedication to our community. And, every year, the City of Cottage Grove gives out Volunteer of the Year awards, and we give out, group volunteer awards and such. But every once in a while, we find out that there's some people that didn't get their names nominated that we really think it's important to make sure you know how much we appreciate all the work that you do to make this community an amazing place. And I know I see our superintendent. Oh, yep, she's down there taking some pictures. Our superintendent's here because obviously it's a great partnership that we have with the city and the school district, and you guys do too. So I'm going to give that to you. So on behalf of myself, all the council, and all the citizens of Cottage Grove, thank you for all the work that you do to make this such an amazing community and a great school district. No? Oh, look at her like, no, I don't want to say anything.
And before I let you really go, I am going to show the audience and those at home some pictures of the really great work you want to do. So if you want to stand up there or sit down, that's your choice.
Well, we can
but-
see it here too.
Okay,
so.
great. I'm just gonna go through it, and just so everyone knows, some of the examples that I should have mentioned earlier, not just schooly, but going and packing food boxes for students over holiday breaks so they are not left without food, because we know that a child who is fed is the best learner. You can see Sue packing all those boxes and the food there. Cheryl is at another event that they routinely go to whenever they're invited, whether it's a new resident event or, a high school event or a specific school like that. They're all over the place with Community Ed, and so Washco cares. I just had to drop in a young picture of our police chief here, Pete Kerner, when he was packing, so I thought that would be fun. We cross over a lot. Cottage Grove Police help pack these or deliver these boxes. You'll see some of the, here's Sue at the Strawberry Fest this past year. And then our fire department and police at Schoolie this summer, helping out our SWAT team there, doing some demonstrations. Here's the fresh produce that we talked about. They just, so many different things that they do. Storyboard walks, Sue did this really great program, Fairy Tale Fashion for Food, and she would haul prom dresses all over the district because, it's a dual purpose of helping, right? These teenagers going to prom, they can get, dresses, really nice dresses that have been donated at a severely discounted price, and then that money in turn goes to help buy those winter food items for the holiday break boxes. You can see here Schoolie selling popcorn at a movie night. Again, our police folks there, and really just letting us be able to connect with the community. I just wanted to recognize you too. There's so much I didn't say, but I'm sure that we can all go. And I do want to say something else because of their efforts. So Washco Cares, this idea that Cheryl had years ago, has blossomed from a seedling into now the South Washington, I'm going to mess it up, County Education Foundation. So if that's right. So this little seed and inkling and idea has grown to so much and helped so many people. And now it is the education for the foundation for the school district. So I'm very pleased and excited to have you both here tonight so we can recognize you.
All right, one more round of applause for these two here. I guess we got to do one more picture here. I thought you were done.
I know. All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Awesome. All right. Well, they even give hugs on the way out, too. They are giving. All right, and our last presentation this evening is these are amazing because we get to do these, and this is a pleasure of mine as the mayor, is the Girl Scout Gold Award. It goes to Greta Engelstad. So Greta, and it's troop 53772, correct? Why don't you come on up here? Come on, right here. All right, so one of the neat things that I enjoy being the mayor of Cottage Grove, is getting to give these kind of awards out. And for those that may or may not know, for the city of Cottage Grove, what we do is we have our Boy Scouts when they get their Eagle Scout Award, which is the highest honor that they can achieve. We recognize them this way, and then we have a name, and I think you saw that. I think I saw you out there. We have a recognition area in our down the hall out there, and we put all of the Eagle Scout Awards and the Girl Scout Gold Awards winners up there. And so you can go back and you can see family members and people that you've known for way back. Matter of fact, I've got a son. There you go. And so what makes us so proud is the fact that, you know, this really shows true leadership, right? In the community, it took a lot to get to the level that you did, right? And what I'll do to you, which I do to all the Boy Scout, Eagle Scout Award winners, is I'm going to ask you in a second here, once I read the plaque, to tell us about what you did, maybe a special project, whatever, to get the Girl Scout Gold Award. So what I want to read to you is this plaque here. It says, Greta Engelstad, troop number 53772, congratulations on attaining the Girl Scout Gold Award, presented September 7, 2022, from the city of Cottage Grove, Myron Bailey, Mayor. So on behalf of myself, again, just like I said before, all the citizens of Cottage Grove, thank you for your service and congratulations on the Gold Award. There you go. All right, so I'm going to give that to you, but now I'm going to hand you the mic, and you get to tell everybody out there, what did you do?
My Gold Award project focused a lot on pollinators in a couple of different settings. I did quite a bit of education I did with Kids Club doing some skits at the end of the summer with the like summer daycare program they do. We did some skits, did some songs, and got to teach about not only like everybody thinks about bees when we think of pollinators, but we also talked about all of the other pollinators. We've got our native bees and why they're important, and that some of them, yes, live in beehives, but also it's important to like leave your gardens untouched in the spring, so that way our pollinators have places to live there and underground, and talking about like other insects and like our butterflies and bats and things like that. Beyond education, I also worked with Basic Needs and their new community garden that's in, I believe it's in Newport. And we made some raised garden beds that were accessible so that way people in wheelchairs or walkers could be able to access them and be able to partake in that community garden as well. We made a memory game to help people remember the different pollinators we talked about. And I believe there were a couple of other elements that I'm blanking on right now. But we did lots of education, some cross-generational stuff with like working with the garden as well, getting lots of people to help build the raised garden beds, and I think we also did some like outreach as far as Facebook and like YouTube videos to be able to spread that knowledge even further beyond the community.
Fantastic. I was going to say, yeah, give her a round of applause. I'm going to hand that to you. You know, normally when I have somebody come up here and they say, okay, I did this one thing, not like, holy cow. So you really did a lot, and so we do appreciate that. And obviously, it's interesting. We just had a meeting not too long ago about a new building that we're looking at doing in Cottage Grove that we want to be, fully sustainable. And it's called Glacial Valley Park, and so the pollinators, all the things that we're talking about over there. So it's right up our alley with what we're looking at too. So, all right, you ready for pictures? Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, thank you. One last round of applause for her, please. All right, well, that is pretty awesome that we get to do that tonight. All right, Next on our agenda is consent calendar. Counselors, anything that you'd like to pull on consent this evening?
Move consent.
All right. Did I catch that, Councilmember Olson?
Move consent.
Okay, so seeing
Second.
nobody pulling anything, we have a motion by Councilmember Olson to approve consent, second by Councilmember Thiede. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So if you happen to be here for anything on tonight's consent calendar, all of those items have been approved. Next is 8 is approved disbursement. 8A is to pay the bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
We have a motion by Councilmember Dennis, second by Councilmember Kambata. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is 9 is a public hearing. We do have a public hearing this evening. It is a special events permit for Zivix Landscape and Garden Center. And our Director of Public Safety, Pete Kerner, will take us through this one. Welcome, Pete.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. Feels like every 2 weeks I've been up here now with special events.
Yeah.
So the one I'm going to bring up tonight is the haunting experience out at Zivix. I just took a quote right off their webpage. If you go to the webpage, it kind of explains the whole thing. I think most of you have been there before for the haunted house. They also have the haunted hayride, food events, some music and different things like that. So a lot hasn't changed, but we're going through the process. We did go through the application. I don't think he's here tonight. I know he wants to come in 2 weeks. He's looking at the new mobile food trucks, and I'll get to that. But we did send out notices for the public hearing, and our city clerk did receive one email, and I think that was shared
Yes.
with you. So we can kind of cover that as we get towards the end. But as you can tell from the memo, there's multiple dates in there. So it's Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and some Sundays. And then that Monday is just the last Monday when it's on October. But most of their hours, weekends, obviously go to 11. The other nights, they go until 10. I did do a check on just calls for service. For as many people that attend there, it's safe, well-attended. We don't have a lot of calls. Last year, in the memorandum, I did kind of go through that, but a couple of those were medicals. One was just a minor incident in the parking lot where someone had hit someone, a 911 hang up, and then it was just had gotten so busy there was a complaint on parking, and I do have a slide on that too that I'll cover. As we've gone through this, I think the big thing is all these special events, we work with the applicant with an emergency preparedness plan. A few years back, 5, 6 years back, we make sure that they do this safety briefing every shift. We actually added some different things in them with different codes because obviously you guys know people are screaming and yelling. And we want to make sure that people aren't hurt. So they've come up with some codes and it's been well received with their staff to make sure it is safe. So the food cells, as I had mentioned, they are looking at their mobile food units. They've had those for years, but with the change in the ordinance, they have 2 units out there, I believe. So they'll be at the next meeting getting that done. As of right now, alcohol sales, the applicant has not made an application. He's looking at Spiral Brewing. Obviously, there's some things they would need with a catering license and everything if they're gonna do that. They are no longer partnering. Years ago, they used to have a couple of our civic groups would sell alcohol at the Lions Club, but they're not doing that anymore. Noise, this is one of the comments that came up from the people, but we do allow the live music, amplified sound, and we ask that it end at 10 o'clock. It just follows the city ordinance. So I will follow up on the one issue with hearing the bangs or the different, I wasn't aware of that. We've had no noise complaints, but we'll follow up with the person that had reached out to you also and make sure the applicant's aware. They do the bonfire, our fire marshal goes out, make sure they have a water supply. It's not by buildings and things like that. Years ago, we used to have security there, and it was kind of a moot point. It's well attended, it's a lot of families, not a lot of issues. So we don't require that. If the applicant wants us, we will certainly help out with that. This is kind of the one thing is we absolutely do not want any parking on the highway across the street on Kingsborough or at, even at the golf course. We don't want anyone crossing. Years ago, we did have a significant accident near there. There's been a lot of changes to the road design and everything, but we've just told them if things start to back up, get them on the property. We don't want anything backed up on the highway, so We don't really have a lot of issues with that, but we are prepared for that. So tonight, we'll ask for the public hearing, but if you have any questions, then maybe Mayor, if you want to address the comments that we received from.
Yes. Yes. First of all, council, any questions for staff at this time? You did cover, we did get one email from a Morgan Jenkins, who I believe lives down in that, somewhat in that area, I believe.
Across from Kingsborough, yes.
Yeah, 1090-20 Kingsborough Court. His only concerns were, and you talked about well, technically all three, and one was that any music be subject to volume control after a reasonable time of night, which I did hear you mention was 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Same goes on the cannons or loud effects. They said they've experienced loud cannon noises in the past late at night. I'm not sure what that is either. I've been down there a couple times for their events, but obviously you'll do a follow-up there. And then parking can be full at times and can create some dangerous traffic concerns on the highway, and it sounds like you're addressing
Yes.
that issue. And so those were the three topics that he had emailed us on to be put into the record. So since there's no other questions from council, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anybody that wants to speak on this item this evening? All right, seeing none, I will then go ahead and close the public hearing. And council, I believe number 2 is whoever wants to take it.
I would move to authorize issuance of a special event permit to Zivix Landscape and Gardic Center, contingent upon conditions outlined in the memo from Public Safety Director Kerner and Community Development Director Costello dated September 2nd, 2022, and all applicable state and local statutes.
All right,
Second.
so I have a motion by Councilmember Thiede, second by Councilmember Olson. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pete. Next on our agenda is 10 is bid awards. There are none this evening. 11 is regular agenda. We do have 2 items this evening. The first item is the Thai Garden, which is a planned unit development and site plan review. And it looks like you're not taking it tonight, huh? Mike is going to take us from the planning department. So Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As the applicant in front of the application in front of us tonight is Thai Garden Plan Unit Development Site Plan Review. The proposed restaurant is located at 7470 East Point Douglas Road South. The original use of the site was a gas station that operated until approximately 1989. Then it was converted into an automotive repair shop, which operated until about the fall of 2018. In 2019, the EDA purchased the land and prepared for redevelopment. And the site is currently vacant. The images on the right side of the screen here show the old automotive use on site. The subject property is guided commercial on the land use plan and is zoned retail business district, B2, and restaurants are permitted use in this district. The applicant has requested a PUD for flexibility due to the zoning regulations and the size of the parcel. The proposed restaurant is 2,855 square feet with 92 seats total, 64 interior seats and 28 exterior on the patio. The site plan that the applicant submitted has access located off East Point Douglas Road South. As previously stated, the applicant did request flexibility for setbacks. Specifically, the rear yard adjacent residential, the B2 just requires a 75-foot. The proposed building is 54.7. And then the patio setback for the B2 is 30 feet, and it's 24 from the front yard property line. Front yard patio is located right here. In response to the flexibility through the PUD, the applicant will be constructing and replacing the existing privacy fence located on the northeast section of the property here. The proposed privacy fence will be 6 feet tall and be low maintenance. This will help reduce any kind of impacts on the adjacent neighbors from any kind of headlights from the vehicles entering the lot. In addition, the applicant will be doing odor suppression to reduce any potential odor impacts from the proposed restaurant use. One other thing that's noted on here, we also requiring any kind of light shield on the lights adjacent to the residential property, so there's no spillover onto the residential properties. The proposed parking for the use meets ordinance, actually exceeds ordinance. 27 stalls, 22 are required by code. There are 4 stalls that are compact. They're 16 feet long by 9 feet wide. just short 2 feet of what ordinance requires. Those stalls were utilized for staff parking. It's right at the rear of the building located back here, right adjacent to the trash enclosure. And good access in and out, as there's an access door back here for staff. The landscaping plan does meet code as well. As part of the landscape plan, the applicant is proposing additional plantings along the property line back here adjacent to the residential properties. There's also some plantings along the proposed dry retention pond, right in this general area. And then some plantings along the building and along East Point Douglas Road. The architecture, the city code requires 65% class 1 materials. This proposed building is 90% class 1 materials, utilizing brick, glass, and stucco. And the recommendations on the screen, I will state that at the public hearing at the Plan Commission meeting, we had no one participate. And myself and our associate planner, Connor Jakes, did go out and visit with the neighbors adjacent to the property, and none of the residents expressed any concerns. They're actually supportive of the project. We're happy to see the fence getting replaced and the additional steps that were requested through the PUD process. But that said, the applicant is on hand for any questions, and the recommendations on the screen.
All right, so before Mike jumps away from the mic, any questions by council? The applicant like to come up and speak? Well, if you want, yeah, just go on. I think we saw you once before, but if you just want to state your name and address for the record, please.
All right, I'm Melvin Galloway, and the owner, operator, Integrity Building LLC.
Okay.
I'll be the contractor building the Thai garden. Yeah, my client proposes to bring a healthy eating, living to you guys' neighborhood. And just, like Mike was stating, clean up put a building in that vacant lot right there and propose, I guess, a little revenue to Cottage Grove.
Well, we appreciate that, and I know we'll be voting on it in a minute. What's your goal for construction? Are you looking at this year to start construction, or are we looking next spring?
Due to all the pushbacks, we were looking, once Mike and them approved the plans, to try to go get the underground stuff done before the ground freezes, get the building up so we can work and get the interior stuff through the winter, and then get everything outside through spring and finish primarily probably, say, about 8 months. So,
Okay.
So I'd call that November to June-ish sometime.
Well, I'm excited to see you guys, you obviously doing the construction, but this family to bring this business back to Cottage Grove, or I should say back to Cottage Grove. I know they're elsewhere right now, and they're residents here, so I'm very excited to see them offer the opportunity like you're talking about to our residents for another food opportunity in town. Any questions for him here? All right, thank you. Appreciate it. So, council, we do have the motion before us there. Who would ever like to take that?
I'll take it. I motion to adopt Resolution 2022-116, approving a planned unit development and site plan review for the proposed Thai Garden Restaurant to be located at 7470 East Point Douglas Road South.
All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Kambata. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Dennis. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. You got it. All right, the second item on our regular agenda is certifying the preliminary property tax levy for the city of Cottage Grove, and our finance director, Brenda, is here to take us through this. Brenda, welcome.
Mayor, members of the council, tonight I'm going to just do a brief presentation before you in regard to our 2023 preliminary levy proposal. We've been working on the preliminary levy and the budget. Back in May, we started with council guidance. But actually, even before I started in April here at the city, council was working on the strategic plan and a staffing plan, and both of those plans have been incorporated throughout the budget process. Throughout the summer, we've held budget workshops. Department heads have worked on their budgets, presented those to the council. Tonight, here in September, we're asking for adoption of the preliminary levy. With that levy, we'll send it to the county. They'll use it to send out truth and taxation notices to our taxpayers. And then in December, we'll be back in front of you again to adopt the final budget and the final levy. It's just important to note that the preliminary levy that is adopted tonight, the final levy can't be more than what you adopt tonight for the preliminary, but it can be less. The property tax levy that's in front of you is $20,649,710. That is an increase of 12.6%. In comparison, last year we had a 4.3% increase in the levy. And just some levy details. Here is that $20,649,710, and about 85% of that is for our general fund operating expense. And then about 15% is for our debt service payments, so to pay for such things as our pavement management project debts, ice arena debt, our central fire station debt, some of those other debt levies. Less than 1% is for EDA, so our economic development activities. The property tax levy, it's divided by our total tax capacity to come up with the city tax rate. And so we need to talk about tax capacity next here for the city. And we are seeing a significant increase in our tax capacity. We're at 58.3 million compared to 2022, so a 25% increase. In comparison, last year we had a 6% increase in that tax capacity. Of that 25%, about 4% of it is for new construction, so it has had a positive impact here at the city, and then the rest is on existing properties. So if we take our tax levy divided by our tax capacity, we're having a positive impact here on our city tax rate. So in 2022, our tax rate was 37.15, and that is dropping by 3.5% down to 33.65. What does that mean? On our select city properties, the last couple of years, we've looked at 4 properties throughout the city. These are residential homestead properties. Property 1, which is the top left, in 2021, they paid $1,011 in city taxes. With this proposed levy, they would pay $1,084 in taxes, so about a $36 increase per year when you do the average. We can even look at it further on that property 1. If we look on the right side, there's a 9-year history there of that property 1. They've had a market value change on that property of about 5.3% over 9 years. But then their city tax change has only been 2.9% or $27 per year. And we can kind of see those dollar changes, sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down, depending on where we're holding the levy and some of the impacts between the residential and commercial properties. And then on the left, that is ringing true then for all 4 properties. Their market value change has been, goes between 5 to 6.5%, but there's change in city property taxes just between 2.5% and 4%, so below that market value change. When I talked about the levy at first, I talked about the general fund was, 85% of our levy. And so I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper on the general fund. It's a balanced budget with the proposed levy in front of you. It's at $23,083,960. And that when we talk about balance, we have a balanced revenues equal our expenditures. And our revenue side, the general fund, it's our operating levy in the city. So it provides such things as our police services, our fire services, plowing our streets, taking care of our parks maintenance. And so we don't charge for doing those services, but we need to generate revenue, and so we do that through property taxes. And so it's 76% of our budget in the general fund. And then also to note, our next biggest percentage of the pie is license and permits. And so since we're a growing community, we have 11% license and permit revenues, which is nice and healthy. If that building activity would decline, then we would either need to find other revenue streams, increase property taxes, or decrease expenditures. So it's a nice representation of what's going on. On the expenditure side, we talk about that we're in the people business, and so a big portion of our budget is 68%. And then supplies are at 6%, contractual services 22%, and capital at 2%. If we were to look back at 2022, it's important to note, personnel was 70% last year. And so we're experiencing here in our budget some of the same things that we've been seeing at home. Increased fuel costs, increased supply costs, increased capital costs. And so our supplies last year were 5% of the budget, and so they've increased to 6%. And the same with capital. That was 1% last year, and because of our squad increases, that has increased to 2%. If we look a little bit more expenditures by department, just as in 2022, public safety is our largest portion of our budget at 48%. It did decrease by 1% when compared to 2022 because in public works, we have a new position in there to just provide the same level of service that we've provided to our community in the past. And so that's showing that swing. And then just one more slide to show what our city taxes pay for. So this is one more property. It's our median value property, $329,800 in value. It increased by 20.4% over 2022. They will pay, based on this preliminary levy, $1,084. It's a monthly cost of $90.33 compared to $81.08 last year. And on the right side is just showing between police services, it pays, if they would write a check to us by month for $90.33, $37.92 would go for police services, $15 even would go to public works to plow our streets, maintain our roads, debt service is $13.29, so forth. Next steps, so for tonight, we're asking for approval of a resolution to certify the preliminary levy collectible in 2023. We will send that to the county. We're required to send that by September 30th. The county will use that to send truth in taxation notices to our taxpayers. They'll receive those mid-November. It's important to note that there will be a budget summary, which is a new requirement with those notices this year. It's from the state. And there will be a one-page notice. It'll include information about our levy and our budget, the school district levy and budget, and then the county levy and budget. And so that'll all be on one sheet of paper. In anticipation that that might have some further questions when people receive it, we're going to have some further outreach as a council and as staff in November. We'll have an open house on the levy and budget in November 29th. And then we'll be back in front of you December 7th to adopt the final budget and levy. With that, I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Council, any questions at this point on the budget? I do know that we have spent a lot of time in, and I guess I'll just mention, Brenda, thank you for coming in kind of at the beginning of this. We had a transition with a retirement, somebody leaving, and then you coming in, and you picked up what was kind of set up for you and just worked it all the way through. As you did say, and we've all been witnessing, it's been the inflationary factors on some of the things that we're buying and such out there needing to is quite challenging. So I appreciate the fact of our staff, you know, really tightening up their bootstrings, so to speak, and making sure that we come in with a really good budget. And thank you to the council for kind of hashing out through many, many nights of going through the budget, literally line by line. So is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak on this item? It's not a public hearing, but. I do need you to go up though and just state your name and address for the record, please. No, you're cool.
My name is Sue Wagner. I live on 72nd Street. And I just want to know if we have any questions or concerns about our tax bill. Who do we contact? Do you have
You're looking at her.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely, thank you. And thank you for raising your hand right away. Brenda, thank you. Councilmember Olson.
Thank you, Brenda, and thank you to the entire team for all the hard work that went into this year's budget. It was a very robust and detailed process, and I feel very good about where we landed. Everybody really got their pencil out and did their homework, and it ended in what I believe is a very strong budget. A couple of things that stood out to me, and Brenda, I'm going to ask for your help on this, is when you look at our tax rate as a city, our tax rate as a city continues to drop. And even with this year's budget, when you take the levy percent increase versus the increase in valuation of properties in the city, the gap is such that, you know, the taxpayer wins again in the city of Cottage Grove. And for less than, you know, $91 a month, you receive all of the amazing services that our staff works very diligently to provide. Can you just talk a moment about tax rate and kind of where that comes from? You know, the shocking number, I think, is that this is the lowest tax rate that our taxpayers in the city of Cottage Grove have been able to enjoy in probably about a dozen years, maybe more. So could you just touch on that briefly?
Yep, you know, because of our growth, our tax rate continues to fall, but also because of valuation increases, especially on our residential, that showed that decrease. But what we have to look at is our levy per capita. And when we look at that compared to surrounding communities, and especially in Washington County, we are, you know, within the second or third lowest in tax per capita. And so we really do provide a service to our residents. And so, you know, that tax rate is decreasing, but, you know, importantly too is to look at our property tax levy per capita.
Outstanding, and I agree with you that the tax per capita, which we see when they come and do the financial proposal every year after the auditors take a look at all the numbers, et cetera, it consistently bears out that the taxpayer in the city of Cottage Grove receives tremendous value for what they pay in property taxes. And to your point, when you look at Washington County as a whole, the city of Cottage Grove, for as long as I've been on the council, and you know, I'll defer to the mayor because he's been on longer, but you know, we're always in that bottom 2 or 3 cities in the entire county, and that includes cities of all sizes, with what you pay for what you receive. And one other thing I wanted to note is the city of Cottage Grove does not receive a dime in local government aid. Not one dime from the state of Minnesota in local government aid. And that's something that we don't talk about very often, but it's worth noting that when you look at surrounding communities, and they're in the same budget process we're in, one of the things that they can count on is what's called LGA, or local government aid, that comes from the state of Minnesota to help them pay for the same things we have to pay for. The city of Hastings, for example, receives, you know, I've got it written down here, I think it's $904,000 in 2023. Newport receives $452,000. St. Paul Park receives $686,000. South St. Paul receives close to $3 million. We don't receive $1 in local government aid, and yet we manage to maintain a tax per capita and a tax rate that is lower than all of those communities. So again, my deepest gratitude to the staff for the work that they do to make that happen. That is absolutely tremendous work. And I'm grateful as a taxpayer, I'm grateful as a city council member, and as somebody who's lived in the community for as long as I have, I'm grateful for the level of service we receive for those dollars. We have phenomenal public safety, public works, parks, et cetera, all of which is part of this budget. So thanks again.
All right, Councilmember Thiede, you had something you want to add?
Yeah, so most people know that my dad raised me to be pretty darn squeaky when it comes to money. And these guys know it especially, and so forth. But you know, so first blush, when I was looking at the budget when it initially came out, it was like, oh, no way, I don't want it to be that high. And but after sitting through and getting all the information and looking at things and realizing that the county really decided that our value of our homes probably, you know, I know mine was increased by about over 20%. And so in terms of the level that the levy is increasing and so forth, actually does compare very favorably, and as Councilmember Olson brought out, you know, with quite a few different places that we do sit very positively amongst our neighboring cities and so forth when it comes to taxes. And so in the end, even though I'd love to keep increases to zero with everything going up, and if you all sat in all the meetings and got all the facts, as you know, I like to get all the facts, I think you'd probably see that we're doing quite well with where we're at. And I would say that, the iterations that we see the staff go through and everything else, this gang of people there, they do a fantastic job. And so kudos to everyone on the staff and that for taking a look at all the different possibilities of making sure that the citizens of our city get a great services and value for their money. So.
Fantastic. I'll start with Councilmember Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor, and hi, Brenda. I want to reference real quick an email that you had sent out to us earlier today. And it's an email that talks about fiscal disparities. And so one of the statements that you had provided was for 2023, we have not been impacted as much as some communities due to our faster than average population growth. From the article, generally a city with faster than average population growth will benefit via the fiscal disparities formula, while cities with a slower than average or declining population will generally experience declines in distribution. So you further go on to state that in comparison to another community in Washington County that would have a very similar tax levy increase, that because of their conditions relative to population and growth and those factors, that they're ending up paying a decent amount more per property than what we pay here. So I appreciated receiving that information, and I'm sure everybody read about it here. I do want to also mention, in concurrence with my colleagues here, that we go through this process very in-depth, and we look at it through the critical eye of what I call the owner, a business owner, for example, that understands the value of money. Spending more out the back door than you take in the front, you've got a problem. And so one of the things that I think we've done really well is handling how we run the fiscal aspects of the business here for everybody to the very best that we possibly can. And I also want to highlight the fact that when you take a look at how we operate as a city, we have a very robust and successful economic development initiative and push here. And so this is one of the key factors that adds to the fact that we're doing better than a lot of other communities in that regard. So generally, if you think about the simple analogy of a few people holding a very heavy object, if we invite a couple more people to come and help hold that weight, all of a sudden the back and the shoulders don't feel quite as bad. So I think that we've been successful not just with the management process, but also in terms of how we grow the business through the top end. And that's making a good difference here, in my opinion. So thank you, Mayor.
Fantastic. And Councilmember Kambata.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. As the newest member of this panel, this is my first time going through the full depth of the budget process, and I was especially impressed with the amount of due diligence that every department had brought to the discussion in terms of prioritizing expenditures, long-term planning, and highlighting where future expenditures were going to be so that we can budget for them accordingly. And I credit them with our current financial position, and I give them all of the credit for why we've been able to maintain our fiscal position.
Fantastic. All right. So council, if you see the first bullet point up there is probably the one that we need to do if you're so inclined. So I'll look for a motion.
Mayor, I'll move that we adopt Resolution 2022-122, adopting the preliminary 2022 tax levy collectible in 2023.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Olson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Kambata. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks again, Brenda, and the rest of the staff for moving us forward. All right, next is 12 is council comments and requests. I will go ahead and start with Councilmember Kambata.
I don't have much to add, other than I just want to thank staff again for all their hard work.
Awesome. All right, sounds good. Councilmember Dennis?
Thanks, Mayor. So you and I did a little program last night on economic development that was out on Facebook Live. And I certainly appreciated working with you again. That's the third one that we've done. And I think a lot of people enjoyed it as well. We had, right now as a look on Facebook, 4.4 thousand views from people that wanted to take a look and see what was happening in Cottage Grove. And it's a very exciting time. There's a lot of good opportunity and more things that are going to be coming here this year. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
You got it. Thank you. Councilmember Thiede.
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to, like we try to do every year, is just remind everybody that the kiddos are back in school. And, we want to make sure that we keep a watch out for that and drive sanely and everything else and just be good stewards to on the road, so.
All good? All right, and Councilmember Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier tonight, we had the opportunity to recognize some community partners who really have done some amazing things in our city and the surrounding area, South Washington County. Sawashko Cares is a tremendous organization with all sorts of different elements to it that help not just the kids, but also the families of the kids in South Washington County. The Cottage Grove Lions partners with South Sawashko Cares and South Washington County Schools by helping with things like the schoolie events, et cetera. But one thing I would ask all of the people watching at home or who are familiar with Sawashko Cares to do is follow Sawashko Cares on their social media, particularly on their Facebook page if you can't. You can certainly, reach out and, talk to Cheryl herself about these things, but they're consistently putting needs out on their Facebook page for, things that they encounter in real time. For example, if a young person comes to school in the wintertime and they notice that this person doesn't have a heavy enough coat, or they don't have boots to wear, or they don't have a hat or gloves, they will put information out on their Facebook page and they will say, we have a need. And they won't be any more specific than they need to be, but they'll simply state that we have a need, and they'll ask if anybody in the community can step up to help. Sometimes it's, we have a need for a student who doesn't have transportation to school, and maybe they need a bike. And if you've got a bike in your garage that hasn't been used in several years, but is still in reasonably good condition, and you want to donate that, you can. Sawashko Cares is also a nonprofit, so there are tax benefits to that. But they really do some amazing things, and it's important that we all recognize that as a community, we serve each other. We are one community, and Cheryl and her team have really brought that to light through what they do with Sawashko Cares. There are consistently things that come forward with respect to somebody who's not getting enough food or what have you. So if you're looking for a place where you can help, Sawashko Cares on their Facebook page, or you can talk to Cheryl herself if you want to get involved. But they do very, very good work, and I know that our Lions Club is really proud to partner with them on many of the projects that they do. The last thing I want to say today is in reference to my colleague, Councilmember Thiede's comments about the kids being back at school. Thank you to all the teachers, all the paraprofessionals, all the custodians, all of the people who work in the lunchroom, and anybody else who's helping with, educating our kids here in South Washington County Schools area, across the state and across the nation. It's not an easy job, and it's important that you know how appreciated that you are. My kids benefited from absolutely wonderful teachers and aides and paraprofessionals and all kinds of folks in their time as students in South Washington County Schools. And I know that as all of the kids go back this year, all of the folks that are in the buildings awaiting their return are dedicated to giving them the very best possible educational and social experience they can provide. And I just wanted them to know how grateful we are for what they do. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Thiede, you had one more thing you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you know, even though Strawberry Fest is past, in a few months, we're actually going to be start our planning for 2023. And we also have the Monster Bash that we plan for, that's coming at the end of October for our Halloween parade and so forth. But I wanted to say that we've got a couple of longtime committee volunteers that have decided to retire. One of them has to deal with all the food vendors and so forth, and so we really can use some additional help on the committee, and now's the perfect time to kind of get involved and see what it's all about, and so help out, because it's a fantastic festival every year. And our next meeting is on the 19th at 6 o'clock, and I'm not sure whether we'll have it here or have it at somewhere else, but anybody can go ahead and contact me, and I will get your name on the distribution list for the planning. So it's a great time. So tell all your friends, you know, shout it to the world. And
It's a fun
get
thing to be
involved.
part of. I mean, the mayor and I have both been part of it. It's really fun. So I would encourage people, if you're interested in helping out, get involved.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. A couple quick things for the public. First of all, just a friendly, it's more of a needing to require statement, if you will. At our August 31st City Council meeting, we had a closed session at that particular point where we were going over some information as relates to a group. Well, it's an agency that we use called Ethical Leaders in Action. It was a report that they presented to us. It was something that we had asked for during our administrator's performance review to kind of question and talk with our staff about their goals and objectives within the city. And so we received that information and staffing levels and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to mention that. That's why that was a closed session. So thank you, Jennifer, again, our administrator, for getting that done with us in August. Second thing is just to piggyback a little bit on Councilmember Dennis and I's opportunity with the Facebook Live event. You know, one of the passions I think we all have here on the council is, you know, providing great opportunities for our residents in Cottage Grove, and whether it's through new business opportunities, jobs, restaurants, parks, open space, you name it, we're really there. And what's interesting is some of the things that are challenging to some other cities right now, whether it's new businesses coming to town, housing starts, restaurants and such. To be honest with you, though, the lag time might take a little bit longer because of some of the material needs. The fact is we're not seeing a slowdown, specifically in our business park. So just thought I'd throw that out there because I know there's a few things that we can't share with the public yet on some great things that are looking forward here that we're going to be able to share with the public, hopefully within the next month up to 6 months or so. And we'll have to have another Facebook Live event to share and make that happen. And then lastly, I wanted just to mention for the public that at the next City Council meeting, I will not be here at that, which is on September 19th. Mayor Pro Tem here, Councilmember Dennis, will be covering that meeting for me. I will be joining our Public Works Director, Ryan Burfine. We are making a trip to Washington, D.C. to talk to our legislative contingents as well as some other people out there about some opportunities for funding on some road projects that we're looking for in Cottage Grove. One is already kind of in a bill right now, which is 80th Street, some financial opportunities coming from the federal government, hopefully. And we're going to be out there talking about that and hopefully get it through to the end so that we can move forward with 80th Street. And then the other one is what would be a future extension of 100th Street from Jamaica to Highway 61 with all the new development that's happening out with North Point and some of the other things that are happening, Renewal by Anderson and such. And so that week or parts of that week, I will be gone. So Councilmember Dennis here will be sitting in for me as the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem that day. And then I'm sure I'll be able to provide some feedback to the public and the council once I get back from DC. And that was it on my notes. The next item is a workshop which is open to the public. This workshop is the East Point Douglas Road and Jamaica Avenue Improvement Project. This is the one that our citizens have been telling us loud and clear that they want that area down there fixed from a traffic congestion standpoint. So that is open to the public, and we'll be going into the training room. And then as soon as we're done with that one, we will have a workshop session that is closed to the public. And that one is pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 subsection 3B, attorney-client privilege to discuss acquisition risks and anticipated eminent domain litigation for the East Point Douglas Jamaica project. And that will be a closed session with our attorney. And then we will adjourn from there. So that is it. If you're watching at home, have a great evening, and council will go to the training room.